are getting painful at this point. I emitted a share here for 15 bucks. The idea being, well, I need to build up enough money that I can buy something if I eventually get it. But I can't actually eventually get that something because if I sell this share, someone else can get it. So, and even as it stands, well, as it stands, I can split it with the company with someone, which means I still keep control if someone else gets that second share. But, you know, if I sell my share to get enough cash to buy something, now I can buy the SNCF, but I can't move the SNCF here for a reasonable amount of money. I've got 19 bucks in hand, but next turn I could do that. But over here, this guy's only got 20 bucks on here, probably not enough to buy what he'd want if he'd won anything. I don't know what he'd want. He'd want the E, which is worth a lot. But if I emit a share, well, whether I emit a share or not, I'm not going to have enough cash over here in his hands to buy anything. If I sell my share, then I'm in the same position where somebody else can take it over. And I feel like I'm kind of in a stuck position where I can't do anything with him. That's kind of problematic. So I'm not going to drop a share, even though I kind of want to, because there's things I want, like the B. I really would like to get that into my hands. But, you know, if somebody takes over my company, I can sell my shares. But I don't know. I really kind of made this company into my basket in which I put my important egg, and that's the problem. If I release another share right away, someone can actually take it over. Now, they probably don't have the cash to do so. Nobody who really wants to. But unless I sell this, I don't have the cash to do shit. And that's where the problem is. So I think I'm better off holding off, keeping its share value up, rather than, you know, make it harder for other people to buy it, make it worth more for me to sell if I do have to dump. I don't know where we're going with that. I'll look at some of the others and see what decisions I make. The decision to pull in 13 bucks, I got a 25 on there just to remind me that I pulled money in. The others chose not to emit for various reasons. So, for example, this one, hey, it's not going to go anywhere interesting. It's just going to be paying out that $2 a share for as long as it can survive or whatever. And that feels like it's the same circumstance with this. I don't think I can get anywhere with it. I've got enough cash on hand that I probably will go bankrupt before I get rid of all that cash at the tiny amounts I can send out. I've got enough cash to buy some of the interesting things like B, and then I can start float a new corporation off that and see what happens. I don't see any synergies with this, so I'm just going to let it rot unless, you know, if somebody wants to buy it out from under me because it works well with stuff they have. So like this guy with the SX, hey, maybe it works with him and the MHE is worth dropping. I don't know. He's already done that with one company though, didn't he? I'm not sure. No, he did not. And he's actually in a position where his company could be taken away, but his company doesn't look that good. Once the PKP is bought, then there's enough cash here to defend it that no one can really take it. But as it stands right now, the SX just does not look like that valuable a thing to have on it. So I think that's kind of safe. I feel like he's moving forward. This is the guy I feel is kind of stuck behind the 8 ball right now. He's got something kind of neat with a yellow property on it already, 2 shares, and he's not liquid enough to try to help it along. And what does that put us at? Forming corporations. I don't think we're doing that because the PKP wants to go over into that company. So now it's time to start bidding and buying stuff. CF was put up for bid for 24. This guy picked it up at 25. Okay, great. He had exactly 24. It looked slightly more attractive than the other one. Get another company out. Renfi. Which no one currently has an interest in, but I thought somebody was connected to it. SNCF is connected to it, yeah. Over there. Okay. Now, that puts us over here because he doesn't want to do anything. He's on perma-pass unless something weird happens. But basically, he can't afford to sell that second share or somebody will take his company. Over here, I'm sitting on 13 bucks. I can't buy a share of my own company. I don't know if I'd want to or not. I could buy a share of this, which is interesting. This is valuable to me, actually. I could shift this in here and the MHE over there, conceivably, if I wanted to juggle them. I don't want to buy one share of it, though. I don't want it unless I can get it. And at 8 plus 9 bucks is 17. I don't have enough cash. I have enough money to buy, shares if it went down in value. So I guess I have to sit. And likewise over here, do I want to sell a share of this? And does it make sense? So I'd be getting only 14 bucks because the 15's out of place. That would give me 24 bucks. That's enough money to buy the B, which links in. But then what if I lose this? What happens to me? And that's why I feel handcuffed with him. I don't have the cash in hand to do anything. I think I'm going to have to pay dividends, which I hate doing, but eventually, in order to get enough cash to operate, obviously this is going to have to pay dividends, but that's not a problem. But this thing paying dividends cuts into its ability to expand and to improve itself, and then its long-term ability is just not there because I don't have the cash. Now, if I sold a share, would anybody take it? I would be screwed if they do, but does anybody really want it? And that's a good question. Does anybody want it enough that they pay for it? There's enough money here that he could take it. Is there a synergy there? The MS? Yes. So I had better not. So I'm going to go on pass here. But I feel completely locked down by my lack of liquidity. And that puts me to the one person left who I don't think anybody else has any great interest. He wants, what is it? He wants something. And he wants something that links in with other useful things. Renfa's not here. It's not here, but it's not here, I'm sorry. But the B is here, and I have enough cash to buy the B. So I'm going to put that 22 down and buy the B. And that'll, I think, end all the stock activities. Investor had enough to buy the SBB, so he did so. Over here, the only real change, because nobody has enough money to put into their coffers in their view, they like, okay, we're advancing, we can slow things down a little bit. I was over here with the PKP, he put full value in. And now he has enough cash to defend his company now that his company looks valuable. But you can see where the pace is kind of slowing down. You can't just crank things out. Now, the form corporations is the second action, so the fact that he picked up the B, he's going to want to form a corporation out of this. But, well, he may have trouble because he can create it for 12 bucks if he's lucky with the 2 bucks he has left. Now, if he emits more cash, he'll have more money and have more options available. But yeah, he's basically looking at starting a new company with B. Other people were interested in B, there's no question. They did not have the ability to have the money available to just buy it. So that did not happen. Now we have the right to close companies. Now, is there anything that wants to close? We're still at a cost of ownership of 1, so I say no. There's no reason to close anything. You can't close the last part of a corporation even if use so desired. It doesn't really serve any purpose. So it's income time at this point. Okay, and dividends are paid out. Most of the people trickling them out either because they can't pay out very many for this company that's just sort of dissolving, or, and for this one, we'll talk about that one in a moment, or because, hey, I kind of want my stock values to increase more, because there are values to that. So that's that kind of thinking is definitely influencing, and you got to be kind of careful. Now, the one difference is here I paid out. Now I have a total of 7 points of value left with 4 shares out. That drops me 2. It's gone, which means this whole horsey disappears. The company that it's associated with is gone and not coming back. And this is available as a new corporation if somebody wants to start it, although I'll probably leave it as the last choice available. So I've just lost whatever stock value I had, which wasn't very much, but you know, you kind of wish you could keep your things, right? They collapse. And I guess that's the end of this one. We cycle back around up to another turn with nothing but greens available. Still, the cost of ownership is only against the reds. But yeah, I mean, it was just, there was no way to keep this thing alive by trickling less money in or whatever. So this is what I get out of it. And that's what I'm holding. Is 2 shares at 18 bucks is 36, 46, 50 bucks is what I'm worth. Other people, we can kind of figure out their worths too. These guys, it's harder because they have companies which have potential value, but this guy we can take a look at. It's 15, 30, 55, 57. So I mean, obviously whatever he did isn't really working. I would suspect what this guy did isn't really working either. Whereas, you know, if you can get a synergy going and get a company with a lot of different pieces going, that works really well. The problem is, how much is that worth? You know, how much under did I pay for, say, my initial companies to get this set up? Or did I just get lucky because of the way the cards showed up? And that's where I'm really kind of not sure that this is a game of the same nature as the XX games, in the sense that I don't think you can predict what's going to come up and what you're going to be able to capitalize off of it, because you could just get lucky. The right things come up at the right times, and then you're able to create the kind of synergies that this guy has that clearly are putting him in the lead. I mean, we could take a look at his value. He's got 40 bucks right here, another 24 at least here, probably more than that because he's going to be pulling 30 in from it. So that's, you know, say 70 bucks there plus the cash he has on hand. And then whatever residual value, this has a growth value. These guys have growth value too. Well, this guy, yeah, these guys do. This guy does not. This has a potential growth. We'll see what comes of it. But I really don't feel like there was any great strategic thought that went into the selections that happened. I think it was more of a matter of, oh, look, I got lucky and had the right cash at the right time to invest in these things. Now, you can somewhat enable that by, hey, you know, hold on to my cash and not buy the B that I don't know whether or not it's going to help me, because all I have right now that I can possibly get off of it is this, and I don't have the cash, and I don't have enough cash on this to buy it in, so I'm going to float a new corporation and hope I have enough money, you know, to eventually buy that before anybody else does. But otherwise, what do I have? You know, there aren't any other greens there. Maybe HA or HR shows up out of the blues, and maybe I have the cash for it, but I don't know, you know. And likewise, that E is available and of interest to him, and he's got this stable company that can grow it. This thing has the SZD and the BSR, both of which are available here. Somebody had the RENF. Yeah, this has the RENF available, which can be another growth direction. This has E available and also is competing for that same piece. You know, maybe the best thing I can do is try to cut my losses on this and tell him, hey, give me some of your cash. But is he going to do that? Why? Why? Is the company that worthwhile? At what point is it? Is there a point at which it's worthwhile to pay money out of your corporation into somebody else's hands? Is there a sliver where it's good for both people? I don't know that yet. Let's get us caught up here. The only company to issue any stock is over here. This guy. He dropped one just because he has enough money to start another company. And I want to get more cash to then buy that company into the corporation. And then the only corporation to start, because the SNCF has a synergy over here and I want to keep it in the same corporation, is this B, which you can see I floated basically as high as I could. And that's what you really want to do. You want to throw in as much money as you can. I could have thrown in the extra buck, but that would have watered the shares down more. Like instead of at 16 bucks a share, I would have been starting at 11 bucks a share. Both of which are legitimate. They both have the yellow marker. I could have gotten 33 bucks in instead of 32. And that would have, you know, put 2 extra bucks in the company, but it would also mean I'd get an extra share, which is kind of neat. I have more flexibility and sales capability because of that, and also more shares there. But watering the shares down means that I have to worry more about keeping the share price up. You know, having less shares out there makes it easier to keep the share price in a valuable place. And now we start buying and selling stuff. And I'm not going to go into too much detail there, but we'll come back on the report. First round on the stocks. This guy picked up the BSR. I had questions, you know, did he want that or the SCD? The SCD is just as good for him right now, but this has better long-term prospects. Nobody else could buy. Nobody wants the SCD except him. The only person he has to worry about is that picking it up. Somebody want the SBB? He might want the SBB. I think that's, yeah, he might want the SBB really badly. And it seemed like a good purchase at the time, but it has some problems. First of all, this guy's got has a share that he could sell and some cash. He almost comes to the amount where he could buy into this. If I had 1828, you know, 32, I'm close. But the problem is the way the pricings go, that's not going to fall unless somebody else buys a share of my company. But what that means is he kind of held on to things so he doesn't lose his company. In fact, if he sold this share, it would have dropped down to like 15, 25, 29, which is not enough to buy anything. But now the prices have shifted a little bit where he might. Except this guy sold one of the shares of this new company. And it's at risk, you know, somebody could buy it, right? But they can't buy it immediately because he has the 1 share advantage with the presidency. And that's got him a decent amount of money. And now when he sells this share, he'll have enough money to actually buy 2 shares of this and take it. Is that the best thing to do? I don't know. You know, he's already got 2 companies. Does he want a third one? This looks pretty good. Whereas, and he may be able to shift things around. Like I said, the MS works with both of these. So he could shift money in or out of, you know, he could shift from one or the other company properties. He has to get the MHE in the company he wants to close, though, because that's his least valuable piece of property. Unless he has some other piece of scrap that he wants to trade into it. It's one of the problems. He has too many corporations, and the private companies all kind of work together. I guess this one kind of doesn't. I don't see this one anywhere. And then over here, we had a pass because if I sell a share, I could be taken over right away by this guy. I think $20 would go down at this point to 16, which is exactly what he has. So he could seize that company right away. So I'm kind of handcuffed here. The fact that there are people patrolling out there with enough cash to take over companies is part of the danger right now. This guy really doesn't have anything he can do. He is at the mercy of other players. So I think he's going to lose this corporation. Well, I mean, this guy's passing because he's handcuffed for the same reason that he should have been handcuffed, but he wanted to move forward. Everybody else has been very cautious. He's decided to take the risk, but it puts him on his position. He's got $16. That's enough right now to buy one share. Or he could sell this share and get $16. That doesn't give him enough money to buy 2 shares at 14. So the timing is kind of important. And I can't pass because 2 other people have passed and he's certain to pass. I'm not sure I can actually manage it just because of the prices and the way they're set up. And now I'm in this position where, okay, what do I want to do? Plus, if I dump this, this guy's safe to drop his share and maybe do something else. Of course, he probably won't because the prices will be dropping too far. But I'm really not sure what I can actually do at this point. Because, yeah. Maybe I'm best off holding off. But if I hold off, I don't get the shot at this. Buying a share of it doesn't sound terrible. I think it probably makes money. 39, 47, but it's all the way at 5 shares. Ooh, it's got a lot to make up. 47, so that's 87. Yeah, it'll probably go up 2. Will it go up 2 at this price? Yeah, it'll go up 2. So I think I'm going to buy a share of it to give me more flexibility and pass the time a little bit. Because nobody else wanted to do anything. This guy probably would like to do something, but he doesn't. There were no opportunities that were worth selling his share for. Mainly because of the price drop involved in the share. Because nobody was capable of really doing anything, we ended up deadlocked with him sitting on, a share of everything. The companies have been sold into the corporations, and now, I don't know where we jumped. We went through the foreign investor and all that, and at this point, we're at the point to close companies. And this is actually of interest because now the cost of ownership has gone up to $3 for both reds and oranges. That's where I have to start looking like this company. Well, I can't close it because it's the only one this corporation holds. But it means the corporation is no longer making money. Over here, still worthwhile. The oranges are probably fine. But here, this red company, the BPM, between these two, they're worth -$1. So maybe I want to close both of them. That loses me share valuation, $13 worth of corporations that I have. But I probably need to get rid of those. This one's worth 0, so it's worth keeping because it adds 1 share valuation. These, though, I probably do want to close them. Over here, $4, it's still worth a positive value to me, so I'll keep that open. But yeah, I'm going to throw away essentially $13 in my share valuation. That's going to drop my shares. Other people are holding these. Yeah, at least one other person is. So You know, but I'm holding two of them, and that's some of my income there. Big money here from the BSR, which is going to allow me to keep cycling through the cash. So that risky maneuver, it paid off. And everybody's kind of like, oh, I should have thought more carefully. Maybe I could have gotten away from it. And he's looking like he's brilliant, even though really he was just kind of careless. You know, a lot of payouts in place. Starting with here, he decided to dump big. He was going down 2 spaces anyway because of those companies he closed. So it's like, let's just dump more cash into play. And that put quite a bit over into his hands. That opened up an opportunity for this not to pay out. Actually, it didn't matter. He could have paid out a little bit. But he's looking at, well, if I'm going to cycle another company, I want as much cash on here as possible right away. And getting stock value up and keeping cash on hand seems like more important to me than anything else. Now, the danger, of course, is if I buy another company, hey, I might be in the position where I could be taken over again. So you got to be kind of careful, but you can see sometimes you get away with, I don't know, not paying attention and just doing what you do. Here, no emission because he wanted to get the stock value gain. Any money given out would have caused a problem there. Here there was money given out, just $1, but he also got the gain. And by the way, this was a big jump. That was one of the cool things about it. And here gave out the cash because this company's just dying. This would be useful to something else, but the only something else it can work with is this. And I mean, if he wants to buy the corporation, he can have it, man. It's not doing the owner any good at all. But as of right now, it's not doing, it wouldn't do that much good over here either. It's the MS. It would open up 2 +2s, but get rid of this +2. And it would take some shuffling and everything, and probably isn't really worth the effort. All right, on to the next turn. I mean, it turns out, just because of the way things fell from other people's choices, that since I wanted to emit a share anyway, I was dropping back down. I wasn't gaining all that much. But again, I wanted to keep the cash on hand, so it wasn't really just the stock. The stock valuation didn't enter into that decision. A couple of companies released shares. This guy did not. He doesn't feel like he has a chance of buying anything. He actually does. But the thing he wants is the E company, and that's $43, and he can't buy that. So he's holding on to his position, but really doesn't have an easy way to make money unless he starts paying dividends. And he didn't pay dividends because he wanted to increase stock value. Because stock value is important too, he has to be able to sell a share. Over here, we didn't emit a share. We're only going to be able to pay out $1 a share no matter what, because the $5 share price only allows $1 a share. That's going to be our last go. The reason to leave it up here is, hey, if somebody else buys it, it'll go up more in value. And then I can sell my share for more and make a little bit more off of it. So, I mean, it's just kind of a, might as well keep the share value up. Who knows what happens anyway, you know, type situation. Nobody's starting a corporation because nobody has a private company. And now we're on the stock trading. Okay. Pass over there. He can't figure out a way to start churning money again. He's been behind all along. Over here, nothing I could buy. If I sold this share, it would expose me to take over. And I didn't have enough money, even if I sold that, I think, to buy. Well, I had enough probably for the rent fee, but we were looking at 13 and like 25. Yeah, I would have had enough money to buy one, but I would have exposed myself, so I bought up more shares of my stuff. It's going back up in value. Seems worthwhile. Over here now I have this same kind of position. There's a guy with 1 share of my stock. I can't sell, obviously, but I got 50 bucks. That's enough money that I could buy what I want, this SZD here. Nothing's going to go over there into the foreign investor, okay? But I would like to buy it, but I don't have quite enough money to buy it and buy another share. Right now, another share would cost me 22 bucks. I'm just a little short. I don't know that I want another share terribly much. Liquidity is a really important and valuable thing. I think I'll pass because I'm pretty sure that guy's going to do something. But I don't know what. It's probably he's going to try to see if he can get E. I don't know if he has the cash on hand to do that, though, because this drops down to 14, and then he could sell this for 16, so that's 30, 37 bucks. Not enough to buy E, and E is the only thing that interests him. So he may just pass, keeping his options open as well. Alternatively, he may sell this because he's not going to get control of that. I don't know yet. I gotta think, do I have enough money? No, I don't have enough money to get control of that with him holding 2 shares. By selling this, I'm in a position to buy this, so I force him to buy a share, and I sort of further entangle his money. That he passed. Keeping, I don't know. Basically, the reason he passed is the drop in value from the share prices and the fact that these things both look like they're going up. So actually everybody ends up passing around because he had nothing more to do and he was the only person who did anything, and he didn't have anything he wanted to do. And that puts kind of an interesting position. Hey, it's money that's not doing anything, but that's not necessarily as bad a thing in this as it is in XX. I'll try to get into this, I think, at the end of the game. But this kind of reminds me a little bit, not just of railroad barons, for obvious reasons, because, you know, sort of the topical, hey, corporations owning companies in an XX type environment, but also of Venture, the old Avalon Hill game with the... Here it's specific companies having synergies. In Venture, it was all the companies had certain letters and you needed to match them up in certain ways to increase your portfolio value. It's just something about this reminds me of that, and the fact that you can like kind of reorganize between your corporations. There are differences though. You're not as flexible in this as you are in Venture, obviously, and obviously there's the whole stock market and everything, which is completely different. Yeah, this was kind of a tough call because, you know, next turn I'm probably not going to have this same kind of hammer in place, but I'm going to gain some value. One question was, did I want to sell and get priority? But, you know, then I lose the hammer if I sell. So everybody's kind of got this interlocking handcuff to each other, unable to do anything right now. But that starts to break open. The cash, you know, there's enough cash here that I'm almost at the point where I can buy a share and buy what I want. I'm just not quite there. But if I did buy what I want, I would then lose my corporation, which would suck because that's why I'm buying what I want. The stock values also, though, affected him and prevented him from doing anything. If they were a little higher, he could buy something. If they were a little lower, maybe, or if there were more intermediate values in there, maybe I'd be willing to sell at a little bit of a loss instead of the bigger loss that I'd be taking. If I needed to buy back, like if my sale caused him to do something, maybe I'd want to do something else then. Well, then I'm juggling stocks, and that hurts you in this game. It hurts you a few bucks at a time, and it really kind of does things in. So I'll set player order. I don't think he's doing anything, so then we're gonna go down to the shuffling, and there's not much opportunity there. Very different from the last time I played, because we're in a position where kind of the brakes are on money's being paid out in dividends. Because stock value can still increase as you pay out your dividends, and you're seeing a lot of these companies paying out a fair amount of cash. Of course, this one just closed. We knew that was going to happen. But a lot of these companies paying out a fair amount of cash simply because I wonder what that is. They have, enough cash on hand to still increase their stock value and be able to. It's really fucking annoying. I gotta kill my phone. They've got enough cash on hand to be able to emit money, but because people are locked and not able to trade their shares really, they're not making a lot of money. They're not being able to turn these companies around quickly, etc. And it's really kind of all this guy's fault as the investor. Remember, I don't know if I said this or not, but I think this is a game where usually you don't have somebody who's an investor, but he's kind of gotten forced into that position. And now in that position, he's kind of dragging everyone else down to his level where they can't afford to do anything. Now they could, if they had a second company, they could shift things around and try to dump it or something like that, but that's painful. And certainly they can't just close out the companies in their corporation and dump it on him just to take him out of the equation, because those corporations are important to them. Everybody's down to one now again. All the crap's gone away, and none of them are, terribly looking like, oh geez, this is worth, dropping on him. He's not going to invest in crap that's useless. He's investing in things that are the key corporations of given players, and there's just not much they can do because of that. And because he has not really liquidity, but near liquidity, in the sense that he can drop these shares and get cash for them, enough to threaten anything. Nobody can really drop their own shares. Now, this guy's got actually a pretty big holding. He could probably drop one share, but he was in a position last year where he couldn't buy what he wanted to, and maybe that'll get fixed. I'll see what the hell my phone wanted. The stock emitting decision is really, really difficult for me. I've got enough money here, 15, 17 plus, 22, say, 39. I can buy Renfe or maybe even FS, depending, but both of which are interesting to me. But if I emit a stock to do so, because I don't have a lot of cash here, then the value drops down to 16, and it becomes both, I don't make a lot here, and I don't really have a lot to exchange if I do emit the stock. And also I drop the stock value to the point where I'm really not getting the kind of profit I want. So I think I'm actually going to pass with this guy in terms of dropping an extra share out. Sometimes it just doesn't seem like it's worth the cost for moving forward in the game, which is kind of a different situation than in an XX game. In an XX game, you can buy a train, unless it's a train you just don't want, it's time to do it. If you can, you do. Here, though, it doesn't look like it's the case. It's not a matter that I don't want those. I do want those. I do want to exchange the money and do all the mechanical stuff that's involved in it because I'll get advantages off of all that, but the cost otherwise to do it is just too painful. So it's almost like the decision to take a big swallow or wait a couple of turns, I guess, is more what it works out as. But it doesn't really work out that way, because the big swallow maybe you have to take no matter what. I mean, the thing I have to do here, emitting this share, I have to do no matter what to get the cash together, probably. Who knows, but whatever. So the other companies, only one actually did drop a share. Is this guy over here? Oops. I think I threw $5 extra on there by accident. And the reason he did so is, hey, I'm only holding one share of it, and I'm going to be able to move the SCD over immediately because I have so much cash in hand. Might lose the company though if I'm not careful, because that guy over there is sitting on the potential to grab it, in which case, hey, we're going to have to be able to buy 31 and 20 is 51. I have enough money to do both, so I can buy this share before I buy the company that I want. Stock round went around. He bought a share to protect his holdings against him. This guy could not find anything to do. Purchased Renfa, cheated actually. Did not purchase Renfa. He sold a share, which means I'm owed $32. I'm a little groggy right now. I'm liable to make little mistakes like that. Over here, also sold his share of the Bear. Its price has dropped all the way down to 15 a share at this point. The reason, once he sells this, he's got enough money to buy himself the E, which a lot of people want, but nobody's kind of got the cash to buy. Now, if this guy has the cash, he does not. That's the problem. He could drop down to 13 and then he'd be at 39, which is just not enough for E, and E is the only one he's interested in. Ugh. Now this time around the SCD has been purchased. Over here, with nothing going on but the price of this having dropped, I don't remember, but he bought it up to 16, I think. Picked this up. Over here, he ends up buying, no, it couldn't be it. I don't remember. He ends up buying the Renfa, finally. And then over here, this guy ended up selling a share of this, dropping it down to 15. Oh no, he bought this, driving it up to 16. That dropped this down to 15 on its sale. I was counting on getting 16, but that gives me enough money to buy E still, which I want to do. I need to improve my company, you know, at some point or another. But I'm getting rid of all my investments. Not making a lot of money on them, although they did pay out some dividends. But for the most part, yeah, you know, the stock prices are all hovering around the same value because people are buying and selling. If the prices start getting too high, well, the company almost always has to raise some cash or something at some point. Obviously, there's not going to be enough cash here, so I'll hold off at 15. This is probably going to go up. Same here, he's pretty much settled. Nothing's cheap. Over to here, I don't want to get rid of a share, but the final guy over here is going to buy the E, and that's probably the end of the stock trading round. The players are able to churn their money now, the SCD going into here. Now the SCD is not terribly valuable, which makes it kind of shitty. It only has one synergy possible now. I have it, but it's really kind of one of the crappiest things out there. He didn't have any other options though until, and now we have all the blues out. He's got a couple of those which have synergies. But the only one that actually works for him is the FRA, which is a single synergy for him. HA, this guy has two possible synergies with that. That could be very dangerous. Anyway, the foreign investor ended up picking up the FS. Has very little cash now, but has both of these. And the yellow isn't costing anything yet. And we were able to move the E over. You can see the synergy in place there. The Renfa could have moved it, but for 20 bucks, when I paid 32, it doesn't seem like a good idea. Everything's kind of falling at face value now. It's kind of odd for two people to want the same thing anymore at this point. just because the synergies become rarer and rarer as you go on, I guess. Actually, I think it peaks. I think around the oranges and yellows, there's more discarded cards than there are later on. The blues are kind of interesting. They're the first of the, what I'd call kind of the permanent trains. They don't have a penalty even late in the game, even at the end of the game. So, but everything before that is going to have a big hit on it. Now, greens are pretty damn solid, and yellows, if you have synergies, probably survive the game as well. It's just the reds and oranges are definitely going away. It's very unlikely for these to last. So this, for example, makes $5-7, right? Along with a whole structure of other things that don't make as much. Well, it's going to be charged $10 a round at the end of the round for existing, along with all of its supporting companies. So there's just no way they're going to survive. That company's going to be much, much smaller, and it may not even include the SNCF at the end. Although, if I do manage to get the blue synergy with it, it probably will. If I don't, the company will probably disappear. I have the Renfa here. Oh, this doesn't work. MAD doesn't connect up with these. What a shame. Some of them create sort of this, I don't know, domino trace of synergies that happen. At this point, it's time to consider closing companies. I don't think anything's changed. We were at the $3 cost. I think everything that's under that has already been closed. So we're at income and then emitting dividends. At the end of the line, only one company emitted dividends, which was this one, because I just could not see how I'm going to make enough money to buy the next thing with by selling off the shares that I have. Where are we looking for others? Other companies went up in value even though they didn't pay dividends. Well, didn't pay dividends, but even though they paid out, well, this one, even though it paid out a fair amount of money for stuff, is making enough income that their valuation actually went up, which makes them very attractive, but nobody has them now. They also had gotten dropped well below what their reasonable value was. So that's, that's part of it. Like when your stock value drops significantly, you bounce back just because, it's dropping because you're like selling a share or something, and it drops because there's too many spaces when you do some kind of action that's supposed to move at one, and you can easily recover from that. This one didn't pay out, but I think went down in value. And this one didn't pay out because he's collecting up enough cash to buy the Renfa. There's a bit of a risk here for this guy, which is to say, if he spends his money to buy a certificate, and I'll try to remember not to do this, but if he spends his money to buy a company, and he has enough money, I think, to buy the FRA. The FRA's 58. No, he's not. He would have to sell his share, which really clearly puts him in danger. The thing is, somebody's sitting on enough cash at $60 to maybe even have bought 3 shares. But that may just mean that I cannot do a transaction to try to move things. And this guy's actually in danger too. I'm sitting on 2 shares of this. The thing is, this is already at 20, so unless the valuation goes down or something, he's not going to have enough cash to steal that company, but he might have enough to steal this one if it emits a share. I don't know. I mean, we're looking at 16, but then there's jumps going back up into the 20s, so it's tough to grab something from someone. And obviously he's not in a position to do so. There's a potential for a big gain by grabbing a whole corporation like that. And some risk, because these corporations usually are a little rotten, no matter what. But this one seems to be very strong with the money that it was able to pull in. Given U-Turd's policies, I think I have to load this one up. So because we're at that hour. And we'll see what happens.